What's up, everybody? We are here to give you some thoughts on the continuously breaking news, it seems like, about Indy 500 qualifying and Penske shenanigans yet again.
Yeah, so it all started to a fan's perspective. We were sitting in the grandstands for the beginning of Fast 12 when they came over the intercom and said that Will Power and Joseph Newgarden were going back to the garage for failing tech. That's all we heard, and that's all we heard for a while.
And failing
Later
tech
that,
could be anything from, Connor Daly failed for a little bit too low of a ride height in the
yeah,
front, too low of a front wing. That's what I'm expecting. People fail tech a lot at Indy 500
yeah.
qualifying.
So at that point, it was looking like because Scott McLaughlin couldn't qualify due to his wreck earlier in the morning, that it was going to be a Penske fourth row lockout. 10, 11, 12. It was already an ugly, ugly result from Penske, but IndyCar went a little above and beyond that.
Shout out to my man Doug Bowles not taking any shit from his boss, Roger
Yeah, so
Penske.
I don't know if you've heard this yet, but it was stated that Roger Penske was not involved in any of this discussion of the penalties, issuing of them, which is as it should be. And I don't think Roger's going to do
I think
it.
they
I'd
do
be
need to
upset
have
about that.
an independent kind of investigative body, whether it's USAC or somebody. I know USAC has an office at IMS, so that's why I'm saying USAC. But
Yeah,
it's a
it
bad.
is.
The optics are bad.
The optics are bad, even though IndyCar did do what I think is the best overall. But they
Yeah,
came out this morning, earlier today, around noon, I think, was it today?
yeah. So we got word that both cars were disqualified yesterday, and it was looking like a fourth row lockout. And then I think right about, well, I can look real quick.
IndyCar's website
Whenever I
says
texted the
7 hours
group
ago.
chat.
7 hours ago was the post on IndyCar.com saying that I will read the statement that they said. After the series confirmed the technical infraction by rule, the violating cars replaced the last position of qualifying session for which they qualified. Upon further review last night and early this morning, IndyCar will be moving cars number 2 and 12 to the 32 and 33rd starting position in this year's Indianapolis 500, presented by Gamebridge. Don't let penalties get in the way of your sponsorships, fellas. Just remember that real quick. The integrity of the Indianapolis 500 is paramount, and this violation of IndyCar rule against modifications this part and using it as supplied is clear. IndyCar President J. Douglas Pohl says the penalty should be more than simply starting where the cars might have qualified anyway if given the opportunities. The cars belong in the field as two of the fastest 33, however. Starting on the tail of the field is the appropriate penalty in this instance.
That news broke about 11 a.m. I think I got it about 10 minutes after it went out because I texted the group chat at 11:14 a.m. all caps Power and Newgarden to the back. Which,
Yeah.
as a certified Team Penske hater, made my day.
I just want to say, before we get into the penalties anymore, all the social media admins reposting their qualifying results. I think the first one I saw was Andretti, where they just scratched it out and write a new number. Kind of a meme format. Connor Daly took a little tweet saying "Fast 12."
Yeah,
Some
it
funny
was
stuff like that.
I ate some, what was it, bacon wrapped shrimp last night, went to bed and woke up in the Fast 12.
Beautiful stuff. Social media content our teams are taking in stride. But
Yeah.
let's get into real quick what the penalty is actually about.
Yeah, so on the rear of the car, it's called the rear attenuator. We're going to simplify it. We're going to call it the rear crash structure because that's what it was developed to do. Drivers were complaining about rear end impacts causing headaches and just pain. So they decided to rebuild that rear end of the car. If you look on the car, it's right where that safety car light or full course yellow light or rain light, whatever you want to call it, the blinking red light on the back of a car, it's on the end. That's on the end of the attenuator, and it's just meant to soften an impact if a driver backs it into a wall.
So what Penske was caught doing was filling a seam, making it smooth instead of a seam. And they're very clear in the rules.
And I'll post a
cannot
couple of
modify it.
pictures right here so you guys can see exactly what we're talking about.
Cannot modify crash structures. It's not in the list of things you can modify, which means you cannot modify it.
Literally part 1 of the rule is things you can modify. Part 2 of the rule is if it's not listed here, you cannot modify it.
So they broke that rule, and they were trying to fix it on the pit lane.
Yeah, if I'm Will Power, I would be pissed at that. Because not only is your team fucking you on your qualifying position by cheating for probably a minuscule advantage, but you broke a rule, it's black and white. Tim Cindric, you can't say, oh, it's a gray area if they decide to fail the car. No, it's black and white, you modified a non-modifiable part. But then taking a blowtorch to it and trying to scrape it off on a vital crash structure part of the car, I would not like that look if I was Will Power, because then does my crew just not care about my safety?
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't end up withdrawing the cars, because that is what they did. They didn't even choose to run. They
gave them the decision of withdraw the cars, or no matter if you make it into the Fast Six or not, we're impounding both of your cars after qualifying.
Yeah.
And everybody was making it a whole thing saying Chip Ganassi cars were impounded too. They impounded the Fast Six. They always impound the Fast Six.
Yeah. Something of note, Scott McLaughlin's car was impounded for this and found to be clear of it. His crashed car. So,
which the interesting thing is, looking back on, because this is, I think if this is a one-off occurrence, nobody makes a huge deal out of it. It's the fact that 13 months ago, Penske was caught cheating again. And that this is just a consistent issue, it seems like, in this series. You have the 2023 restart of the Indy 500 that kind of kickstarted everything. That was a sketchy decision to restart that race, how they restarted it. It was not following procedure. 2024, you have Penske with the push-to-pass scandal that saw Joseph Newgarden and Will Power's strategist suspended. 2025, you have, and we'll get into the penalties here, Joseph Newgarden and Will Power's strategists suspended for another rules violation. And all of this wrapped up in the pretty little bow of the team owner also owns the series.
Yeah. IndyCar did do good.
Yeah.
There's no attempted sweeping of the rug. There's no foul play once they were caught.
Yeah.
They went above and beyond, because letter of the law, all they had to do is DQ him from Fast 12, because letter of the law, they made it through Saturday Tech.
Yeah.
Clear. That's a fault of Tech that they need to look into, and they need to figure out how.
The car also made it through 2024 Indy 500 Tech.
It might have made it through every race. You know what I mean? Who knows what.
So, why I bring that up, on the Joseph Newgarden 2024 race-winning car in IMS Museum, the blended attenuator line is on that car. So that means that unless for some reason they decided to change the rear attenuator, which if they're going to change it, I don't know why they would put a modified one on there. They've been running this rear attenuator since at least 2024.
Yeah, and presumably further than that.
2023 is when the new ones were brought in, so probably about as far back as it would go.
So it's almost like, it seems to me that they probably just thought they'd never get caught. If it was cockiness or lack of knowledge of the rules, they clearly didn't think it was a problem until it was pointed out to them.
Yeah, so the guy running Tech noticed it on Will Power's car, but didn't know it was a rule violation. Noted it because it seemed a little sus. It didn't seem right. Something seemed off with it. By the time Newgarden's car came through, when they saw it again and didn't see it on any of the cars in between, that's when they held Newgarden's car and called into the pit lane to hold Power's car as well.
Yeah, and then that's when they withdrew, and because they didn't want to hold up the start of Fast 12, and then post that were DQ'd.
Yep.
So
the cars were DQ'd from qualifying, basically. They were moved to the back row of the grid. So that back row is now Renus VK, Joseph Newgarden, and Will Power. Will Power in 33rd, Joseph Newgarden in 32nd. Each team was fined $100,000. both of the strategists were suspended. That is Tim Cindric, president of Penske IndyCar, on the number 2 stand, and I just lost it. Also, Will Power's strategist, who I forget his name. I just found it to put it in to put his picture in the thumbnail. But nowhere near as high profile as Tim Cindric being suspended. And again, both of these guys have been suspended for the second time. This is the second Indy 500 they've been suspended from in as many years. Because of the push-to-pass scandal, they were suspended from last year's Indy 500. Like, look, I understand them saying Roger had no idea what was going on here. But at this point, it's showing a pattern, and I would be surprised if there are not changes made on that Penske IndyCar team coming up.
Yeah, I'm sure. I do feel Penske will have some staff changes. I'm all for pushing the rules in motorsports, but you can't. The optics are just so terrible on this, and the fact that it slipped through for as long as it did is.
And the fact it's a crash structure. Like, if it's modifying an aero surface, go for it. Crash structure, that's your driver's life in the hands of that crash structure. We saw 3 scary accidents during qualifying days. We don't need one of those to end up with somebody actually getting seriously injured.
Yeah. It's those crash structures are finely tuned, and even the smallest thing, you don't know the impact. It's not tested. So even if maybe it wouldn't affect it, yeah, you don't know that. So you are not at right to make that change.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy, I guess, even though deep down, Scott McLaughlin's car probably had the same thing, and they might have fixed it before it was impounded. I don't know the timing of the impounding. But
the one thing I will say, like I said, Scotty Mac
stayed out of shit.
Yeah, and his strategist did not get suspended over the push-to-pass controversy. He only used it like once, and I think he immediately turned it off after he used it. Which then I'm wondering if Scotty Mac knew that, like, is it his strategist or his crew chief that are kind of saying, yeah, we're not doing this, we're not going to risk it for probably a minuscule gain? Or is it Scott saying, no, don't risk it for a minuscule gain?
As a Scott fan, I think it's Scott, but I don't, obviously. Yeah. That might not be his call, and we don't know. And they're never going to come out and say that, oh, he's going in. Like, no, because you can't.
Oh, that would look so bad for the 2 and the 12 team. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. So they're just not going to say anything.
Now with this, I never see Will. I never saw Will Power willingly leaving Penske. But after 2 different cheating controversies that have cost him having a strategist at the 500,
and for this starting in the freaking back,
yeah. I mean, like, you have to think. And then, is David going to Penske?
Yeah. Did you see
because that? Dave will just expose it on the vlog.
Yeah. Did you see that Helio came out and said that they were doing it for aesthetics and that there was no performance game? Helio defending his old team there.
His old team that treated him like shit?
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't think a wild statement.
And MSR isn't with. It's not like it's like I could see it with if it was like Chip Ganassi that got caught. I could see him being like, "Oh yeah, it was just for aesthetics," because he's covering the ass of the team that he has a technical alliance with.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Then there was the whole controversy of a party in the team meeting. It was not a team, and it was not Doug Bowles or Roger Penske, asking that teams do this quietly. Evidently, every single team owner disagreed with that sentiment, which is kind of why we're in the shit show we're in now. Yeah, it's a wild situation. Chip Ganassi is going to be on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour on Thursday. They recorded the episode and teased it. And they're going to be talking about this on the Thursday episode of Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, so keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, so just for the exact quote, so I don't misquote Helio, he said, I believe they did something to look good. I don't think that little lip is going to make them 3 miles per hour faster. To be honest, I know how Roger operates. He wants to make everything beautiful, perfect, shiny, and I believe it was for that, touching the area you're not supposed to. I don't agree. Anything you modify to the car, you're going to do for a performance gain.
Yeah, it's
Full
just
stop.
like there's been talk of Penske pointing out that the Chip Ganassi cars were not wrapped to spec, something like the process of how the car was wrapped. And we did see a dip in performance, to be fair, from Chip Ganassi from Saturday into Sunday. So, I mean, even these tiny little aerodynamic advantages that teams do could be the difference between being P6 in the Fast Six and being P1 in the Fast Six.
Yeah, or P6 versus P7, you making it.
Yeah.
I think we might differ on opinion here. I don't. The talks of Jacob Abel.
No,
Well,
and Jacob's even come out and
suck.
said that.
But let's be so real. You're going 226. You're not making the show, buddy.
That's
Like,
exactly what he said. He said he knew they didn't do what they needed to do to make it.
Yeah, like I get the people, but at the end of the day, like even they said, you want the fastest cars in it, and they are one of the 33 fastest
And
cars.
let's be honest, if this was caught on Saturday and it was allowed to be fixed, even if they didn't qualify and they were just, let's say, all three of them are bumped down to LCQ, Jacob Abel is still that fourth car in LCQ.
Yep.
I've come around on this a little bit. I know Jacob Abel doesn't want them to get DQ'd and him to get into the 500 that way. He said as much. Yeah. And to quote Pato, not an exact quote, I'm paraphrasing, Jacob should take this as a blessing because it's a lot more fun to watch the 500 than to be in it in a slow car.
Yeah, literally.
Because Pato was bumped from the 500 his first attempt.
Yeah, and you don't want to be in a car going 7-8 miles an hour off the pace.
Yeah, I mean, you can just talk to Colton Herta about that, too. He was 19 miles an hour off the pace in 2022, and IndyCar just black flagged him.
So, just ugly situation for the series and sport as a whole, especially for Penske. They did make a statement. We haven't covered. No, we haven't gone. So,
very vague PR.
Carte blanche. This is the statement. Watch this. This is shocking stuff, guys. We accept the penalties issues today by the IndyCar series, which are due to a body fit violation that occurred prior to the qualifying session yesterday. We are disappointed by the results and the impact it has on our organization. We will make further announcements later this week related to personnel for the upcoming Indy 500, meaning who will be the replacement strategist.
Yeah. And I'm sure Newgarden's replacement strategist will be whoever replaced strategist last. It's going to be the same replacements as last year, probably.
Knowing Penske, they probably have these guys on payroll just ready for when they get caught, apparently.
Well, and Joseph Newgarden won the 500 with a replacement strategist, so.
Yeah,
but also, the one thing I will say is these are strategists going into it on race, 2 practices and then race day. Last year, they had the entire month of May with these strategists.
Yeah, this, I don't expect good results from either of them.
I could see Scott McLaughlin still getting a good result, but
Scott McLaughlin,
we'll save that for our predictions episode that's coming out on Tuesday. This is going to launch Monday night because we wanted to get it out there and in front of everyone.
Yeah, so it's just overall, I think Doug Bowles is handling this phenomenally.
Doug Bowles is my president.
He's handling this phenomenally. The clarity that he's showing with the videos they're releasing all across the IndyCar as a whole, describing the part, describing the violation, going above and beyond just what letter of the law says you have to do.
Yeah.
I would be curious to see if we see a changing in wording of the rules with disqualification from quali and see if maybe they might
maybe clarifying it a little bit more.
Making it set in stone that, like, hey, if you get caught with something severe enough, we will just bump you all the way down, not just out of the Fast 12. But
yeah, I mean, also just shout out to the Team Cheaters guy. We see you repping that UC baseball cap. I couldn't be more proud to have somebody representing Cincinnati than a guy standing next to Tim Cindric while he's being interviewed about the cheating allegations, wearing a Team Cheaters shirt, then making a comment to Tim Cindric and pissing off Tim Cindric.
Yeah, I mean it's so funny. I regret being a Scott McLaughlin fan right about now. I'm glad he's clear of all this. I still love Scott McLaughlin,
Yeah.
but it's just hard to be like, damn, like same organization, same room. I
Yeah.
already have to deal with Joey Logano. Now I have to deal with this bullshit. God damn it. God damn it.
But
No.
yeah, that's we'll keep you guys updated if anything else comes out. We'll be at the Indy 500 on Sunday. We won't be doing any content for that really. Just follow our socials for race updates. Instagram at Outside Line Media, Twitter at Outside Line MKT, because Twitter's a bunch of bitches and I can't do Outside Line Media because it's too long. And TikTok at Outside Line Media. But yeah, that's all we have for today. Everyone have a great day. The month of May is almost done. It's a sad time, but we still got the greatest spectacle in racing coming up.
They sure do.
Not the greatest spectacle in sports. Greg Myers, I think your name is.
Chris Myers.
Chris Myers. We'll talk about that on the recap.
And not the Daytona 500 either.
Dude, I was heated and I didn't even watch the broadcast.
Yeah, I had it on mute, so I didn't hear it. They were doing interviews. All right, we'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on the Tuesday episode.
Enjoy, everybody.
Yep.